Bruce, thank you so much for joining us on the Starting Over podcast. I'm very, very excited to have this conversation and have a feeling that your expertise, your insights, your stories are going to be exactly the thing that me and my audience have been looking for.
I'm sure hoping so, because we have wonderful things to talk about in a world that is in a state of chaos. But I want people to understand it's a good thing. You go, come on, it's falling apart, it's scary. And I go, we're not sustainable as a civilization. It takes a 1.6 planet Earth to provide the resources for today's civilization. Problem? There's only one Earth, and says we can't do this anymore. So we're in the process of change, adapt, or die, I guess might be the situation that we're working with.
Okay, let's go right into the heavy stuff, the good stuff. Where you're saying adapt or die. What do we need to adapt to?
What we need to adapt to is that we've been living out of harmony with each other, out of harmony with the planet. And as a result, there's no harmony between us, our relationships, and our planet, which is creating a very big problem at this moment. And we have to learn to live in a different way. And we're going to have to learn to love in a whole different way, a way that the ancient people told us, but somewhere along time we lost it. And we're in today's world of crazy people.
Would you agree with me if I add to that mix that we are also out of harmony with ourselves?
Oh, number one. That
Isn't it?
is the number one thing. You can't find harmony if you yourself are not spinning in balance. Then everything is out of balance after that. So it's really recognizing that we are not living to who we really are. We're living as we seem to be victims of the world out of control and things happening to us, and like, oh, I didn't want that. But it's like not our choice. It's like we're just victims when we are actually creators.
Creators.
We're
Yes.
creating this. And I'll use this word now, and I hope people don't get upset when we get on with it, but it was a very important word: responsibility. We are responsible for our lives, and it's not just accidents. And if we want to say, oh, I didn't have anything to do with that, it's like, well, that's a mistake. We're all involved here.
Yeah, I'm thinking of my 6-year-old son right now, who apparently responsibility is just not part of the vocabulary. So I'm working on learning or teaching that as well. So let's go to something you spoke to earlier, which is the difficulty that so many of us have to love ourselves or even like ourselves very much. Can you speak to that a little bit? And what are the implications of so many of us having this lack of appreciation of ourselves?
I think we first have to start with a very important definition, because when we say the mind, a lot of people think, oh, there's a single mind out here. I go, no, there are two minds. And if you don't get an understanding between them and you confuse them, then the world is strange. And I say, well, what are the two minds? Well, let me talk about the latest evolution. Right behind your forehead is a lobe of brain that is referred to prefrontal cortex. That is the seat of consciousness. That is a seat of what we would say self-consciousness, being aware of ourselves. And it's also our spiritual site, where spirituality is involved with our reality. Spirituality, I'll say the word right now, we'll come back to it later. I'm using it in a scientific sense. There is a science of spirituality. And the significance is, that's called the conscious mind. That's the latest evolution of the brain. And its function is creativity. And this is why humans are so unique on this planet, because we can have imagination and then try to manifest imagination, and we can do that. So we are creators, which are different than all animals below us. And then I say, so that's about only 10% of the brain. The bigger portion of the brain back here is called the subconscious mind. Now, sub means below consciousness. That means it acts when you're not even paying attention. And we usually associate it with things like, oh, my heartbeat, my blood pressure, respiration, things that are going on automatically without me being involved. I go, yeah, that's subconscious as well. But subconscious is another word of saying the habit mind, where habits are in there. Another way of looking at it in terms of today, the brain is a computer, most advanced computer humans have ever experienced. And as a computer, it has the same foundations as our conventional computers. So I say, well, for example, when we used to get a computer in the old days, we bring it home and push start and the screen boots up and we go, oh yeah, new computer, let's do something. I say, no, you can't do anything. What do you mean? You got a new computer. I go, first you have to put programs in the computer and then you have access. The human brain has programs. Programs are called habits. There's a hard drive equivalent. And we put programs in there during the first 7 years of life. And this is to get us off the ground. I go, well, what do you mean we put programs in there? I say, well, very simple point. What are the rules for being in a family? What are the rules for relationships? What are the rules for living in your community? They're rules. We got to live by some rules. It's called culture. I said, well, how do you identify culture when there are thousands of rules and you're an infant? So then I say, nature took care of that. And I said, for the first 7 years of your life, your brain is operating in a state called theta, which is imagination. So a child under 7 mixes the real world and the imaginary world. I always like to bring up the famous tea party. You pour nothing into the cup. You drink nothing. Best tea you ever had in your life.
Oh, like a kid's game.
That's a kid's game because kids can mix imaginary and real world because theta is imagination. But theta is hypnosis. So I say, well, what does that mean? I say a child gets programmed by the first 7 years by observing other people and downloading their behavior while they're in a state of hypnosis. You watch your mother and you watch your father first. Then you watch siblings and then you watch the community. I say, what are you doing watching? I say, no, it's videotaping. You're downloading what you see, what you hear, what you experience, and they become programs. Okay? Now, point about that is, then I say, where'd you get your programs from? And the answer is other people. And I go, and what about those programs? Do they, answer what you want in your life? I say, not necessarily at all. And as a matter of fact, there's another problem. If the person you're downloading from has a problem, then you've downloaded the problem as well. So you say, wait, that's subconscious mind.
So going back to what I said about the lack of self-love and people having, in that respect, is it that we have downloaded this program that we are not worthy, and we have done that likely by observation from other people who haven't had that themselves?
Oh my goodness, it's not so much that. Let me give you the inside one. Let's say you're an older child and you're on a sports team and you're not doing very well in playing, and the coach comes up and says, that's not good enough. Who do you think you are? You don't deserve to be on this team. Now, why is the coach saying that? To, stick a needle in the kids and say, okay, look, I'll work better, I'll work harder, so to encourage the child to do better. They don't realize that if the child is under 7 and the parent acts as a coach, just doing what I just said, they don't realize that every word they are saying is being programmed into that child's mind. So the child is throwing a fit because they want a toy and and the parents want to get out of the store, and they just get mad and say, you don't deserve that, and push the kid out of the store. I say, if the kid is under 7, what did the kid understand or get from the parent? I do not deserve. So what do you mean? I say, the kid is just recording what the parent said. And the parent didn't mean for the rest of your life you don't deserve. Right now, you're being a pain in the ass. Let's get out of the store. So parents say things at the moment without recognizing that the things they say are now being programmed. That's not good enough. Who do you think you are? You're not good at this. You're not lovable. These aren't like your whole life. They just meant at the moment. But they don't recognize the child at that moment is recording a program for what? Their whole life. The programs don't disappear.
Oh my gosh, the pressure.
I'll give you an example right here is, when did you learn how to walk? Before you were 2. Are you still walking? Yeah. How old can you be? I said, you could be 110 years old. You're still walking? Same program. What was the point? When a program is learned, it stays in that mind as a program until it is possibly changed. But it doesn't change by itself, and it'll keep the same habit. That's what a habit's all about. I don't have to relearn it. Well, that's great. So, yeah, I don't have to relearn how to walk every day when I get up. Right. I did that. Done. I know how to drive a car. I don't have to get in the car and go, okay, what do I do? It's automatic. Okay. So the subconscious has a great ability. It saves us a lot of time.
And
You know, the
energy.
program is good. It saves us a lot of time. We don't have to relearn it. But what if the program is bad? I go, oh, well, that's playing all the time too for as long as you live. I go, what do you mean? Not good enough, not smart enough, not lovable. Programs like that go into a child. And I go, it's just downloaded. They don't have to work on it. There's no study involved. They just hear it. It's in. Okay. Now you go, wait a minute. But after age 7, the conscious mind, the creative mind becomes the creator. The one with wishes and desires and what you want and all that is like, yeah, that's after age 7. That's the mind that's working. And now I go, monkey wrench in the game that throws everything out. And I go, what is it? The conscious mind is not only creative wishes and desires, but the conscious mind can think. So what the hell does that mean? Well, thinking is not looking out. Thinking is looking in. If you're looking for a thought, it's not outside here. If you're thinking, well, let's say, Shannon, today's Tuesday, and I ask you, what are you doing on Thursday? Now, it's probably not written in front of you. I'm sure it's not.
I go search for the information.
But you could search for it real fast and tell me what you could probably, you don't have to tell me, but I'm saying you can think about what you're going to do. Okay. Yes. And you can tell me. So I said, but where'd you get the answer when you were thinking? I said, oh, it was inside my mind. So I said, well, where were you looking for the answer? I say, inside. I go, well, why is that a problem? I say, but if you're driving your car, you're looking out the outside world because that's where, you're driving the car. I said, but if you're thinking, the conscious mind's not looking out the window anymore. Conscious mind's looking inside. I go, oh, wow. What does that mean if I'm driving the car and I start thinking about going to the store? I say, well, that moment, you're not looking out the windshield. I go, yeah, but I seem to keep driving. I could think all the way to the store without paying any attention. I go, yeah, that's because, and
that's
here's
the
point.
subconscious mind.
That's when the subconscious mind is autopilot, meaning if the conscious mind's busy, the subconscious mind takes over what it knows how to do. Walk, talk, drive the car, do a job. These are habits, okay? So I say, so what does it mean? And here, let's put it all together because this is the problem. I always say, what is it? Well, when you're thinking, you're not looking out at the world. So your subconscious takes over, let's say, driving the car, okay? And you've done this before. Let's just say you've been in the car with somebody and you were driving and you had a great conversation, blah, 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 blah. And I say, when all of a sudden you look out the window and you go, oh, I haven't been paying attention to the road. I've been talking. I asked 2 questions, and this is where it comes down to the problem. Question number 1, what were you talking about? Oh, we talked about this and this and this. Question number 2, what was on the road when you were talking? You go, I don't know. I didn't pay any attention. Aha! I say, then when you were driving the car, you didn't see your own driving. It just happened automatically. I go, yeah. Well, any behavior that's built into the subconscious, when you are not paying attention, whether you're talking to somebody and focusing on that, or whether you're just thinking, the moment...
Could that even be listening, Bruce? Could that even be that who's listening to this podcast right now, if they're in the car or doing some other task, that their subconscious is processing this information? Or is this where the conscious mind is?
No, it's not processing this information. It's processing how to drive the car because you're not. So the point is, when you're not paying attention to what you're doing, then who's paying attention? I go, like, you're not paying attention to the driving. You're having a great conversation here. That didn't go into the subconscious mind. That's a dialogue in the conscious mind.
But can't I do 2 things at once?
Oh, you can do 2 things at once or more, but there's a whole bunch of things that you're doing that you're not paying attention to because they're automatic. Okay? And so let's put it this way. Let's say I have a program, and this is where the problem comes from that we were talking about, a relationship, big problem. The problem is this. My parents used to say things, I don't deserve things, I'm not lovable, I'm not good enough. or I'm not smart enough, whatever, saying that in that before age 7 time period. And I say, I downloaded that. Okay. So now let's say, what is my perception of myself? Not the thinking mind. Give me the program, the one that comes out automatically. Oh, not good enough, not smart enough, not lovable. I go, wow. I go, so why is that important? I go, well, if you are thinking about anything, your job, moving, doing what you're doing, what happened today, tomorrow, next time, I don't know, you're thinking, the behavior that's going to play is going to be behavior that in regard to love, not, it doesn't work. Why? My program is not smart enough, not lovable, not good enough. I say, just remember you were driving the car. You didn't see the driving, you were talking. Okay. So if I'm busy with my mind thinking, talking, or not paying attention, the automatic program will play. What's the automatic program? Not good enough, not lovable. I say, so why is this important? Because if you're trying to make a relationship with somebody about love, and your personal opinion is, I am not lovable, and someone else says, I love you, what do you think your mind's going to look at and go, well, that person has no quality control. Obviously, I know I'm
Quality
not
control.
lovable. What's wrong with them? And then guess what you're going to do? You will automatically play behavior that will separate you from that person because your automatic behavior is not lovable, and you will push them away because I'm not lovable. And when they're gone, what do you think you're going to say? See, I'm not lovable. That wasn't an accident. That was a consequence of doing this, because how much of the day, or maybe I should throw this in because that's the big problem. How much of the day are we operating from the conscious creative mind versus how much of the day we are operating from the program? You ready?
Is it 95%?
95% of the day, it's all program. I go, so what's the point? Well, if you have great programs, don't worry. 95% of the day, your program's going to get you what you want. But if you have programs that undermine you, sabotage you, limit you, then 95% of the day you're playing those programs, you will sabotage yourself, limit yourself, disempower yourself. With you knowing it? No, you won't know it. I say, why not? Because when you're thinking, you're not paying attention to what's coming out.
But
And
I
all of a sudden,
suppose, wouldn't the other point in this be for people that they have an idea in their conscious mind that, no, I understand that I'm worthy of love. Of
yeah,
course, I deserve to be in a relationship with somebody. I want to meet my soulmate, to have this happy, thriving relationship.
yeah.
And could it be that that person is just not aware of what this subconscious program is saying? So, therefore, to use your example right now, when you say, see, they left, or see, does that come up?
No, the reason is this. You do not observe, because it says subconscious, below consciousness. You, as an entity, spirit, as a conscious mind, creator, you do not see that program when it plays, because the reason it's playing is because you're not paying attention. So all of a sudden it says, then you don't hear your own words. You don't, listen, I tell this story for 40 years, so I'm going to tell it again. As you have a friend, you know your friend's behavior very well, and you happen to know your friend's parent. And one day you see your friend has the same behavior as the parent, so you got to acknowledge, you go, hey, Bill, you're just like your dad. And I can tell you what to do. Back away from Bill. I said, what do you mean? Because I know exactly what Bill's going to say, and you heard him say it. I said, what is it? How can you compare me to my dad? I'm nothing like my dad. I go, everybody else sees that Bill's like his dad. Who's the one that doesn't see it? Bill. Why? Because it was a download program that he copied from his dad, the behavior. He plays that program when he's thinking, so he's the only one that doesn't see the program. Everybody else does. And then the conclusion of that story is what? We are all Bill. We are all day playing programs that we do not observe, because when we're thinking, the programs are automatic and not in our awareness. Not, you have no idea.
So then, would really the path to liberation or freedom from this be to try and bring as much as possible what is in our subconscious, what we have downloaded, to use your words, in those first 7 years of life, to the realm that we are conscious so that we can make choice to change?
Well, okay, here's the problem. You were being programmed, all people were being programmed, starting in the last trimester of pregnancy. You were being heavily programmed in that time period. And the programming probably, primarily comes from your mother. I go, what does that mean? I say, the mother feeds the fetus with her blood. The blood has nutrition in it. That's what the mother's job. Nourish the baby as it's developing, okay? In the old days, we totally believed that genes controlled life. And I said, so what's the point? I said, well, the mother never had to worry about the genetics of her child. It was automatic. The genes just made the baby. And the mother's job was just to nourish the baby. So, in the old days when I was teaching in medical school, we say, well, what's the role of a pregnant mother? Well, she should eat well, take vitamins and supplements, exercise. I go, what are those things relevant to? Well, those are healthy, okay? So I'm trying to make healthy blood. I go, yeah. In the old days, we'd say the mother fed the fetus, but the fetus genes controlled its development. That was called genetics. Today, the new science is called epigenetics. I go, it sounds the same. No, epi means above. Like we call skin epidermis. Because
I didn't
underneath
know
the
that.
skin is dermis, above it is epidermis, okay? Epigenetics, the new science, is control epi above the genes. It's like, wait a minute, the genes don't control. I go, no, that's a belief system. It's 100% false. The belief that genes turn on and off, 100% false. I go, what do you mean? Genes are blueprints to make proteins, the building blocks of the body. Blueprints. So what? I go into an architect's office and she's working on a blueprint and you ask her, is your blueprint on or off? And she'd look at you like, what are you, crazy? It's a blueprint. There's no on and off. Aha! Genes are blueprints. They can't turn themselves on and off, which we've been saying for all those years. A blueprint can be read, but it itself cannot read itself. So all of a sudden, it said, then what reads the blueprints? I say the conscious mind. All of a sudden, and subconscious, conscious, the mind. I go, so why is it relevant? Because the mind controls the genetics. With the information from the brain, emotional chemicals, neurohormones, neuropeptides, chemistry from the brain is what controls genes. But chemistry from the brain is connected to what your thoughts are. So the chemistry that comes out of your brain is a complement to the thoughts. There's a chemistry that comes from love, which is different than the chemistry from fear or anger or hate. These are different chemistries.
But Bruce, can you break this down for me? Because what I'm thinking here is, okay, you're saying, which is pretty amazing. Many of us think that, our genes are fixed at birth and that is how we are supposed to be for life. But at the same time, you're suggesting that our thoughts have an influence over the expression of our genes. But as much as I will myself to have blue eyes, I always wanted blue eyes. I can't will myself to have blue eyes with my thoughts.
Yeah, because first of all, your thoughts, that thought you just had blue eyes, how much of your day did you spend saying, how much I want blue eyes? And I go, well, the most you could have spent was 5%, but you probably spent a lot of other things as well. So I said, what percent of the time did you wish for blue eyes? I said, a small minor percent. I go, so why is that a problem? Because the subconscious is a million times more powerful processing machine, runs the show 95% of the day. And you want to take the little processor called consciousness and try to turn the big processor. I go, can't do it that way. It's not the way it works. So the idea about it is our thoughts, positive thoughts and negative thoughts, are thoughts, but they're not behaviors. The behaviors come from the program. The thought is the nice idea. I would love to be in love. Hey, great idea. Is my behavior going to support it? That's where the problem came from. Not having a thought. That wasn't the problem. In fact, while you were having the thought, you actually let go of the control because while you were thinking, the subconscious took over. Okay? How powerful is this? I love to blow people away with this one, especially because the women are so afraid of the BRCA gene that when they have that, so what's
Afraid of the what?
BRCA breast cancer gene.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
How many women go check up and say, oh my God, I got the breast cancer gene? And what I said, what image does breast cancer gene cause in your mind? Oh, breast cancer. I go, you don't want that image in your mind because your mind's going to translate the image into chemistry, which will manifest the image. And that's what. So I'll give you. I love this one. You ready? There's not one gene that causes cancer. What? There's no gene. You have this gene, you get cancer. I say genes are correlated with cancer, but they don't cause cancer. Cancer is due to a disharmony in the behavior, a disharmony with life, an inability to express oneself. I go, give you the best picture of it. You ready? A child, a baby, is adopted into a family where there's cancer running in that family.
Mm-hmm.
The adopted baby will get the same family cancer just as any natural sibling, but the adopted baby, totally different genetics.
Is science really supporting that?
Yes. It's called epigenetics. And I go, why? Because genes, the belief we've held all those years that genes turn on and off in control, I say no. I say epigenetics turns the genes on and off. That's the belief system. And then I add this because you didn't get the whole story. A gene is a blueprint. You know how an architect can change the blueprint, change the readout, put a pencil, say, no, cross this out, do this, do that. The brain does the same thing with gene blueprints. You can have a blueprint to make a protein. That's what its job is, okay? But by the way you look at the world and respond to the world, you can change the readout of one gene to make 3,000 different proteins by just the way you see the world. And all of a sudden I say, what's the point? The whole belief that most people are programmed with, which I taught for a number of years, is called genetic determinism. What the heck does that mean? Genetic determinism. It means what it says. Genes determine. And everybody, yeah, my life is determined by my genes. I go, no, 100% wrong. 100%. Your life is determined by epigenetics. I go, what's that? Your belief system. Because your belief system is plugged into chemistry, and the chemistry of your beliefs go through the body and adjust the genetics to match the belief.
What's really interesting about this is if I think on some of the sayings that I commonly heard when I was growing up, like whether you believe you can or you can't, you're right. Like it's quite interesting because they're things that are thrown around, but actually what you're suggesting here is that there's actually a scientific basis for that.
It's exactly what it is, 100%. What are you thinking? And you go, but I don't know what I'm thinking. I go, because when you're thinking, it's not your thinking that runs the show. That's the problem. The moment you're thinking, you're not running the show. And then that takes over is whatever the program is. And you don't see the program. Is it a good program or a bad program? You don't see the program. You see the results of a program. So I say, okay, why can't I tell you why can't you tell yourself what my program is? What is my program? I go, well, when did you get your program? Well, you started getting a program 3 months before you were born. And then for 7 years, your brain was operating in a state called theta, the imagination state, which is also hypnosis. So you download a program. So I say, look, the first programs in are the most powerful programs, okay? I said, when did you start getting programs? 3 months before you're born. I said, tell me what program you got before you were born. Oh, I don't know. Okay, wait. You were programmed a whole year from 0 to 1. Tell me the program you got when you were 0. I don't know. I wasn't there. Tell me the program from another whole year from 1 to 2. What program? I don't know the program. Why? You weren't really conscious until later. About 3, you can start to have a memory. But before that, it's very difficult. Okay, so I say, so what's the issue with this? You cannot tell me your programs from memory. You can say, my program is this or that. I go, no, the conscious mind doesn't see the program.
So we don't know what the program is per se, but what are some of the typical things that we program? Is it how I dress, whether people are trustworthy, whether I should move to another country or not, whether I am worthy of love or not? What are some of the themes that are included within this programming?
Okay. I want to help right away for the very simple reason is this: 95% of your life is the program. So if you want to know what your programs are, all you have to do is look at your life right now. And here's the point. The things you like that come into your life, hey, you already got a program to let them in. That's why they're there. But the things you want and you struggle over and you have to work hard and you put effort into it. I'm going to make this, I'm going to make it happen. I'm working real hard. Why are you working so hard? And the answer is this: whatever that thing you were trying to get, your program doesn't support it. And this is why you're trying to override with the conscious mind. If I work harder, I can get it. I go, yeah, but that's 5% of the day. 95% you're still playing the same damn program. And that's why it's so hard to change, because the program, it's a habit. I go, well, what's important? If a habit could just change, then it's not a habit. A habit's design is to stay the way it is. That's what a habit is. So you can look at your life and you say, I want a relationship. I'm working real hard. I go, why are you working hard? Well, because obviously somewhere in the background, that subconscious doesn't have the program to let you get there. And you're going to say, I'll make it happen. I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to make it happen. I go, where's the problem losing weight? And I go, because weight isn't a conscious idea. Weight is a habit built into the subconscious. There's a preset point for weight. I say, why? What's the big deal about weight? It means protection. Weight is protection. Meaning what? I'm thicker. People can't get to me. And if I'm a woman...
Really? Really?
Really? Yeah. It's protection. Because when you were younger, the more you were threatened, the more you withdrew and tried to protect yourself. Don't let things get to me.
But is that like when your emotional eating is a form of self-soothing?
Well, it's self-soothing, but it's also saying, I am protecting myself by eating all this food. That's what's basically the underlying program, not the top program. Oh, this is really great. I love the taste of it and everything. And the subconscious goes, yeah, eat more of it. Go ahead. Because it's driving you from underneath. You don't see it. You don't see your program. Bill doesn't see his program. Everybody else sees it. Your program is seen by other people, but you yourself don't see it. And I go, so let's say a little just twist here for a second to say the movie The Matrix is listed as science fiction. I go, no, the movie The Matrix is a documentary. Come on. I go, yeah. Why? Because according to the movie The Matrix, we're all programmed. I go, well, that's a scientific reality. First 7 years, everybody's programmed. That's not fiction. And then they say, well, if you take the red pill, you can get out of the program. Science has discovered one of the red pills that almost everybody out there has already taken with a dramatic change in their life within 24 hours. What? A red pill that gets you out of the program? Falling in love.
Really?
I go, how does that get you out of the program? I say, why are you in the program? Because you're thinking so much. I say, well, what happens when you fall in love? Science has recognized the fact. You stop thinking. I said, what does that mean? You stay present. You stay mindful. I say, why? You've been looking for this person your whole life. They show up. Is this a time to disconnect and start thinking? No. This is time to be there to enjoy what just came into your life. So all of a sudden, you're living at the moment. You're not thinking. You're taking, oh my God, I love this. Let's do this. Let's do this. You're living what you want right now. Nope. You stop thinking. I say, well, what happens when you stop thinking? You stop playing the program. Yeah. But what else happens? Well, now your life is controlled by what? Not subconscious, but conscious. What's conscious? Wishes and desires. I say, then what happens? Your life was blah, 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 blah. You met somebody. You fell in love. 24 hours later, different life. 24 hours later, oh my God, I love life. I'm so happy. The food's great. The music's great. The sex is beyond anything I could think of. Everything is wonderful. I'm so in love. I'm so happy. I can't wait for tomorrow because we're going to have a more heaven on earth. Heaven on earth? Yeah. Blah, blah, blah. Fall in love. 24 hours later, heaven on earth, called honeymoon. The honeymoon was not an accident. The honeymoon was creation, because you stopped thinking and therefore you didn't default to the programs. They didn't show up, those negative programs. I go, so what does that mean? I go, well, you're on a honeymoon. Great. Look, you and your partner are co-creating what? Heaven on earth. That's what honeymoon is, okay? Then what? Oh, geez, here's what happens. Down the road, you start thinking. I go, what? Well, you got a job, you got responsibilities, things you have to do. You start thinking. I go, so what? All of a sudden, you default to the programs that you didn't play, that you got from your parents and you're growing up. Your mate never saw these programs during the honeymoon because you stopped playing the programs. But then all of a sudden, when you start thinking, the programs start showing up, and a lot of them are negative, disempowering, self-sabotaging. I go, so what? Your partner, who's never seen any of these behaviors because you never played them, you start playing some of these negative behaviors. Your partner looks at you and goes, who are you? Where did that come from? Now comes the problem. You know why? Because the person who just created those negative behaviors, they're the ones that don't even see they did it. So they're going like, what are you talking about? Why? It wasn't in their conscious mind. These were programs in their subconscious mind. So all of a sudden I said, then what happens to the honeymoon? I said, as more of these negative programs start to manifest after a period of honeymoon where they weren't playing, the two people start to see they're not the same. It doesn't work like it did during the honeymoon anymore. Why? Because these programs defeat the honeymoon. And guess what? 50% of marriages end in divorce. Why? Because the person that they married is not the person they turned out to be, because when they up to the marrying point, they were not playing the programs. And so they had no, disillusionment about each other. They were so happily in love. But once the programs show up, monkey wrench in the game, and the
Yeah.
individual who plays those programs is the one who doesn't see those programs, that makes it even worse, because you say, well, what kind of behavior is that? And the person's going, what are they talking about? Why? They didn't see their own program either.
I guess that can wake you up to that though, because I hear what you're saying about this, neurochemical concoction we have when we fall in love or even infatuation with somebody. And yet we know that people also choose their partners based on programming. So you could choose an unhealthy partner for you because you have a subconscious belief that you are not good enough, and therefore you go and seek somebody to confirm that bias that you have. So that's a point too, right?
that's, again, the worst one, sadomasochism. I need to abuse somebody, and the other one's going, oh, I'm always abused. And then they two come together and go, oh, wow, I can abuse you. You're always abused. You love it. We work together. Sadomasochism is two lousy programs that complement each other. They got together because of the lousy program that they fit. So the one that's abused says, oh, okay, I'm getting abused, but it's better than going out into the empty space. I don't know what the future is going to be. So this abuse is better than not knowing what the future is going to be. I go, if you're in an abusive relationship and you're staying, you don't go, is because the fear of letting go is worse than getting the abuse. And then the idea is this, but if you let go of this abuser and don't change the program, you'll find the next abuser because it's going to fit the program again.
We repeat the cycles.
And you repeat this again. People get divorced. They married the same person with different color hair. That's the same person that the other one was, and they got the same program, and they do it all over again, repeat it, and get another divorce.
So I'm, this revolutionary idea for so many of us that our genes are not fixed. We can actually change them, but we should be looking at the programs that we have downloaded in these earlier years in life,
right.
which are controlling. Let me just
emphasize something. Epigenetics does not change the gene. It changes the readout of the gene. Okay?
Well, what does that mean in reality? Like, what does that mean?
The gene is a blueprint. Let's say you have a blueprint, and the architect's looking and say, no, here's where there's a window. I say, nope, I don't want to cross it out. Okay, blueprint, same blueprint, no window. Okay, that's the readout. It's not the original blueprint. It's what the architect marked on the blueprint, what they wanted to do. So the subconscious is the program. Okay. And then the mind, the conscious mind, can say, well, yeah, let's change that. But the problem is this: you didn't change the program, you changed the readout of the program. You still have the original program. You need to change the original program. That's where the
So,
core issue comes from.
yeah, okay, I see. And it's really novel, at least for me. I haven't come across this idea that falling in love is a way to change that. However, I don't think my husband will be very happy if I say, hold on a second, Bruce Lipton told me the way that I can reprogram my subconscious mind is by falling in love. Sorry, hon, we've gone through the honeymoon period. Our programs are here. What do I do now? What do I do now to make
Okay.
the change that I want to make?
Okay.
Because you know what? I want that lovely love life. I want to be healthy and
Yeah.
happy and succeed at work.
Yeah. Okay. Look, falling in love didn't change the program. Falling in love stopped playing the program. When you're in love, why do you play a program? Because if the conscious mind's busy thinking, the subconscious takes over. But what if the conscious mind's not thinking, like staying present? Then I said, well, then the subconscious doesn't play. So when you're falling in love, you didn't change the program, you just stopped playing the program. But inevitably, if you engage in a behavior that causes the program to play, such as thinking, the program is still there, still going to play. You didn't change anything. You just stopped playing the program for a period of time. But the moment you are thinking, you don't have control. The program is automatic. You're not controlling. It's an automatic program at this point. Okay? So the idea is, how can you stay mindful? I go, well, that's a bitch. In today's world, why? There's so many things we have to think about. Everything about thinking about what you're doing next, where you've been, what's going to happen, how you're going to do it, where you're going. It goes on and on and on. So 95% of the day, you are thinking regardless. That's just the way it is. Then 95% of the day, you're playing a program. That's just the way it is. Are you seeing your own program? No, because you're not paying attention of what you're doing because you're inside. What you're doing is now totally controlled without any conscious control at all, just to whatever the program is. Okay? And so I say you can get out of the playing the program by staying mindful. Okay? I didn't say that changed the program. I never changed the program at all. That's why the divorce follows the wedding. During all the honeymoon stuff, well, I didn't play the program, and we were the happy, creative couple. But once I started thinking and the program showed up, then the happiness level plummets, and then the game changes at that point. Okay? So there's a difference between not playing the program or changing the program. Those are two different things.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Let's go to that then. So the not playing the program is being mindful, being present, and using our conscious mind to direct our actions. That is to make sure that we have more control, power over how we show up in our daily lives. But then and it works. But then what if we want to actually change this program, change those beliefs that we've had so deeply ingrained in those earlier years, because we just don't want to have that anymore.
Right. And that's possible. I mean, I wrote a book called The Honeymoon Effect. A guy, I couldn't get a relationship off the ground for over 40 years. Why? My programming, first 7 years, I'm watching my father as the model. Well, my mother and father had a dysfunctional relationship. What do you think I downloaded? Good relationship? No, I downloaded the problem that my father and mother were having. And it's a download. So what? It's in my first 7 years. Then what? 95% of my life. I start off a relationship with a conscious mind. Oh, this is going to be really great. Let's create this, but inevitably drop into the program, and then boom, the relationship was over. Okay? So the point about this is, how can I see my program? I want to have a relationship. I can't have one. Something's wrong with the program right there. And that was then to change the program. I said, well, how do you change a program? I go, that is the biggest problem. I say, why? A lot of people think that they can talk to themselves and change the program. Okay, Bruce, do better. You do better now. I want you to make I want a better behavior. You're going to do better next time around, right? Better, better, better. And I say, yeah, I'm talking to myself. And I love this part because it's a jokey. I said, what is it? Who are you talking to? I'm talking to the subconscious. I go, oh, there's nobody in the subconscious. It's a hard drive. I go, what, relevant? Talk to your computer. See if you can change the program in the computer by talking to it. Mm-mm. You have to push the record button or change. You have to go through a process to activate a change. I go, the subconscious is a habit mind. By definition, it does not want to change. Habits are designed not to change. So all of a sudden I say, well, now you see where the problem comes from. You got a program on the subconscious side that you don't like, but the subconscious doesn't want to change it. So I said, well, then now what? And I said, if you understand how you got a program, then you can use the same behavior to change a program. So I said, okay, 3 ways, and here we go. Number 1, how did you first get a program? Your mind was in theta for 7 years, which is hypnosis. Oh, so I can do hypnosis and change a program. I say, yes, you can. But I say, the best way of changing it is self-hypnosis. Well, how do I hypnotize myself? I go, the brain has different levels of vibration. Sleeping is the lowest vibration, no consciousness, nothing. Sleeping. Then the next, as you start to wake up, the vibration increases, and now it's called theta. Well, theta is mixing real life and imaginary life. So you're coming from the dream, entering real life, and there's a period where both of them seem to be at the same time, okay? And then as you awake, you enter a higher vibration called consciousness, and that's self-awareness, who you are and whatever. And then when you go to work, there's still a higher vibration called beta, which is work thinking, okay? So I say, okay, you're at work. You're at high beta, high vibration of the brain. You come home and you relax. Oh, that's a lower vibration called alpha. So you started high vibe at work, come home, relax, the vibe starts to slow down. The moment you fall asleep, the next vibration down is theta. And I go, so what's the point? Well, every night when you go to bed, the moment you fall asleep, that instant, you're in a period where the brain is still operating at theta. Your consciousness is disconnected because that was alpha, gone. Now you're in theta. I say, what? A state of hypnosis. I go, yeah, but you're sleeping. I go, that's the cool part. I go, what do you mean? You put a pair of earbuds in or earphones on at night and play a program that you want to be true in your life. Relationship, health programs, job programs that offer what you want to be in your life. I say, when you go to bed at night and you put the earbuds in or whatever, and the moment you put them in, you might hear a program that you're playing. You might hear the beginning of that program. But if your mind starts to fall asleep, then alpha, the conscious one, shuts off. Then what? You're sleeping. You don't hear the damn program. You're sleeping. But the program is still playing, and the brain, for a short period of time, is in the next lower vibration, theta, self-hypnosis. So when you put the earphones out at night, you might hear some of the program while you're awake, but the moment you're gone, you're sleeping, there's a period where whatever's coming in your ears is going into the subconscious, not into the conscious, because you're sleeping. This is called self-hypnosis.
Is there any difference between you playing a recording of your own voice to do that, or whether you listen to someone else?
Well, my idea is listen to someone else to see what they're saying and then make your own and talk to yourself, okay? And the important part about it is this is very critical. And people don't understand it, but it's very critical, and that is this. I want to reprogram. I want to have something. I say, what do you want? I say, you make a program, and this is it, ready? That says you already have what you want. Okay, I'm looking for a relationship.
Yes.
I say, I will find a relationship. I will find a relationship. I say, record that today. Let's come back a year. Let's hear that recording. I will find a relationship. I say, well, wait, you never got to it because your recording is you always find it, but you don't have it. So I say, what do you want? I say, I have a relationship. I am lovable. As if I already have exactly what I want. It's called positive, meaning the statement is very positive. It's not like I have cancer and the statement is,
well, who's going to be hypnotizing themselves for that? I don't think anyone.
Yeah, we got to be really careful. You don't want to say, I don't have cancer, because what are you focusing on? Cancer. I go, It doesn't focus on the don't. It focuses on the noun: cancer, love, job. Okay? So the idea is this: when you're doing self-hypnosis, you have to use positive statements. I have, I am, it is, like now. And then and it's always like at the present moment. Like, I already got it. I go, why would I record that? And I say, the job of the mind is to make coherence between what you believe and your reality. If you believe negative things, the job of the mind is to manifest negative things so that your mind and your reality are the same. If you want love, then you have to write down, I am love, I have love, whatever it is. Why? Because if you don't, and the mind says you do have love, then the job of the mind is to manifest love to match the program. You're going to match whatever you programmed, okay? Not the future. I will have love, because that means you'll never have it. Because it's always I will, but it never says I have, okay?
I
Okay,
have
number one.
heard that gratitude is really important in this. Do you
Oh,
find that to be the case? Like gratitude for,
absolutely.
I am so grateful that I have this amazing partner. I am so grateful that I have this job I've always wanted, this
Yeah.
successful business, etc.
Yeah, that's very important for a couple of reasons. One, it encourages what you have that you want. It says, yeah, this is what I like. This is what I like. That's what you're saying, okay? So you're re-emphasizing what you like. It also has a very big effect on longevity of life. I go, why? Because there's a subject that we could get into in another conversation, but they're called telomeres, extensions of the DNA, which allow us to copy the DNA without messing up the gene. And telomeres are like extra length of DNA, because every time you copy the DNA, you lose a little piece, you lose a little piece, you lose a little piece. There's a point, if you keep losing, you're going to cut into the genes. There's an enzyme called telomerase, which makes these extra pieces, allows you to keep dividing the cell more and more and more. As long as the telomere is there, you can keep dividing the cell without cutting into the genes. The moment you cut into the genes is aging. That's when it really starts right there. So
Right.
gratitude is one of the main things that activates the enzyme to make more telomeres. You live longer if you're acknowledging gratitude, because what are you saying? I love my life. What does the enzyme say? Well, if you want love your life, you can have more. Okay, make more telomeres. But what if you get
That
up
is
and go,
so
I hate my
powerful.
job? What's that? Yeah, well, what if you're negative things like, oh God, I hate to see this. I don't like my life. I'm not blah, blah. And guess what you're saying? Don't activate the telomeres. I don't like it as it is, so let's end it. That's what you're saying. You're either encouraging that you love your life, which then extends your life, or you're discouraging life by saying, I'm not happy, I'm abused, I'm angry, I don't like this, I don't like that. I go, well, then why would you want more? Aha. That's why the enzyme stops, because you're not looking. Gratitude is, I love it, let's have more. Okay, that will activate the enzyme. Okay, so wait, let's get back. We have self-hypnosis. And the whole idea is, yes, doing it in your own voice is good, but you have to do it in ways of saying very positive,
I
encouraging things.
am present
I
statements.
am happy, I am lovable, I am, and keep whatever saying, making that picture, because then you're downloading a picture that you, let's say, I love it because the new age thing is fake it till you make it. And I say, what's that? I say, well, you're faking it. I say, what? You're an unhappy person. I go, son, what do? All day long, you say to yourself, I am happy. I am happy. Many times you can. I go, why? Because that is the second way of changing a program. I go, what is that? Repetition, making a habit. First way, you're doing it through hypnosis. That's first 7 years. But you learn stuff after age 7, how to drive a car, for example. That's a behavior, that's a program, it's a habit. I say, how'd you do it? Practice. If you want to be different, then practice being different. You know? You're
And
gonna
is the
say,
difference
yeah.
between that practice in action or practice in thought?
First, practice in thought. Let's just say you're not happy. And I say, all I have to do is practice saying, I am happy, I am happy, I am happy. Why? Repetition will download happy. And then one day you wake up and you don't have to say, I'm happy. Why? Because now it's a program. You've repeated it. You have a habit of happy. You didn't even have to be it. You just had to say it, because now you repeated it so many times, you made a habit And when you wake up, the habit will play when you're thinking. It will still play. You'll be happy whether you're thinking or not at that point. So the first phase of how to reprogram is self-hypnosis, earphones, earbuds, blah, blah, blah. Second phase, practice being different. And a beautiful story that's real, people don't see it, is really good actors don't just memorize the lines, they memorize the character. They become the character. I say, well,
Oh,
how
I
do you
love
do
that.
that? They practice the character. Renee Zellweger practices being the Diary of Bridget Jones there. She's 40 pounds heavier than Renee was. She practiced becoming Bridget Jones, gained 40 pounds because she became the character. She played 40 pounds heavier during the movie. But when the movie was finished filming, guess what? She stopped playing the character, returned to Renee, and got lost to 40 pounds. She gained 40 pounds because that was the character. And when she was no longer playing the character, she lost 40 pounds.
Yeah.
Okay. Dustin Hoffman, man, he takes on a part, he becomes different. I remember I saw him in a movie called Midnight Cowboy, and he played New York City like a bum with a limp, and he was just like a bum guy, And I thought, wow, that was a really good performance. And someone said, oh, if you really like to see Dustin Hoffman, go see him in The Graduate. So I go to The Graduate. I'm halfway through the movie, and I ask the person next to me, I say, when's Dustin Hoffman going to be on? And they go, that is Dustin Hoffman. Holy Jesus, he was a whole different. He was so different. I could not recognize Dustin Hoffman. He played in a Broadway play, Death of a Salesman. And he played a very depressive character, Willie Loman. Depressive. He was great on Broadway. He was great every night. He was that depressive Willie Loman to the extent he had to check himself into a mental hospital because he became the character so much that he became a depressed character. And I'm saying, so what? Why don't you do what actors do? Become a new character. Practice it every day. I'm practicing my new character. This is my character. I'm pretending. I'm somebody different. I go,
Yeah.
keep pretending and you will become somebody different.
Do you know what I
So-
hear also from that? That is so powerful. It makes me think of somebody, a previous podcast guest of mine, who has made a really big community worldwide on the power of positivity. And one thing that she said to me, because obviously she's sharing a lot of these messages around positivity, around gratitude, and how much that transformed her life. And of course, there are these components of self-hypnosis, etc. And she asked me before she came on the interview, I know it's really important to tell these stories of rock bottom, overcoming adversity. But she said, what I found is that the more that I'm spending time telling that story of the time in my life where I was severely overweight, where I was depressed, where I didn't want to live, where I did not like my life, where my relationships were not thriving, she said it was just bringing me down so much. And it just really resonated with me. And I wondered, wow, is there a part where we need to be careful about the stories we tell ourselves and the stories that we repeat?
that the stories we repeat then become habits. That's what repeat means, okay? And a habit is something you acquire. So if you're going to tell the same story and repeat it and repeat it and repeat it, then you will acquire that story, not just as words, but as a behavior as well. You acquire the whole character of it. Second way of making a program? Repetition. The more you repeat it, the more you manifest a program out of it. That's what the whole point was. And that's why you have to get out of that. That's why you have to say, look, I am happy. I am happy. Why? I can't repeat that right now. I'm not happy. I'm not happy right now. I said, well, you don't keep saying that because that's perpetuating I'm not happy. If you want to change it, you have to say I am happy. Even if you're miserable.
Even if you don't believe it, even if you say it and you're like, this is a load of rubbish because I know it's not true.
Yep, you just keep repeating it though. You just keep repeating it.
I'm
Because
sold.
repetition is the second way. There are two natural ways. First 7 years as a child, self-hypnosis. After age 7, new programs are only done by repetition, practice, habituation. That's how you get those two. Those are two. Now, of course, world's in a state of chaos right now because the planet, we're not sustainable. We have to change our behavior. Necessity is the mother of invention. there's a new way to change behavior that's, oh my God, the first two take time. How long does it take to keep repeating something to happen or whatever? I said, the time. There's a new kind of psychology. It's called energy psychology. It's not conventional talk psychology, cognitive therapy. No. It's a psychology that recognizes this. Do I need to understand how I got a program? Meaning, should I go over my life and say my mom did this and my dad did this and my friend did that and repeat the stories and repeat the stories? I go, no, because now you're just making the groove deeper and you're repeating the same thing. You already got the program. I don't have to go back and say how I got the program. That's what you spend your time doing. I go, waste of time. Why? You have the program now. You want to go this way. You don't want to go backwards and say, how did I get it? You already got it. You want to go from here to the future. I go, well, how do you do that? Well, the idea is, what do you want? Not what happened. What do you want that you don't have? Because you have to put that into words. You have to see it as a picture. What is it I want? Very interesting point, Shannon. You ask a lot of people, well, tell me what you want. Most of them will tell you what they don't want. So the new psychology, energy psychology, says you already have the program, you want to change the program. And therefore, you have to get into a state of super learning. What is super learning? I go, a child under 7 is in a state of super learning, meaning a child under 7 can experience something just one time and remember it for the rest of their lives, okay? Because a child under 7 is in that state of hypnosis as well. I said, well, how do you do that? And the answer is, very quickly, there's a line down the center of the brain. We call them hemispheres, left and right hemispheres, with different functions. Left hemisphere, more intellectual words and stuff. Right hemisphere, more emotion, pictures, okay? I say when a child's under 7, both hemispheres are working at the same time. So every experience has an intellectual and an emotional component to it, okay? After age 7, they're connected, but they're not working at the same time anymore. After age 7, during the day, sometimes you're more in the intellectual left side, and then a little later, you're now in the emotional right side. Then it's like a wave. It's called ultraradiant. So sometime during the day, you're more intellectual, and then a little later, you're more emotional, then more intellectual wave. Okay. The idea about that is it's trying to change the program when you're in separate hemispheres, not working together, is a problem. There's a process called Cook's hookup, which you cross your ankles and you cross your wrists, go like that. And when you cross your right and left, I say, what does it do? My right arm is controlled by my left hemisphere, my left arm by my right hemisphere. I say, so what's the point? Well, if my right arm, controlled by my left hemisphere, crosses the middle, then it gets picked up by the other side because it's in the zone where the other side is as well. So by crossing your arm, your wrist, and your ankles, you are causing both hemispheres all of a sudden to reconnect because at the same time, I'm using both hemispheres when I do this, okay? This encourages a super learning state. It's very relaxing. That's why when people are relaxing, you look at them, they're sitting in a chair, let's say, they cross their ankles unconsciously. I go, why? That's part of bringing the two hemispheres together.
I'm crossing my ankles right now.
Okay, and that's a part of creating more harmony in the system because both are integrated. But when you integrate both the right and left hemispheres using both arms and wrists, the ankles, you can get into a super learning state. I go, well, that's the one where the kid can learn almost instantaneously. I go, yes. When you're in a super learning state, you can download a new behavior 10, 15 minutes and walk away. It is the most amazing, powerful experience you could have on this planet to have a belief system and then 15 minutes later walk away with a different belief system. It's unbelievable. My whole life changed 2 times, 2 15-minute balances, we call them. And my whole life changed. I was able to write a book when I couldn't. And mostly, I'm in a relationship with my partner, Margaret, now 28 years, where I couldn't get a relationship for over 40 years. Then I now am in 28 years of honeymoon, not like the first couple of days, but a honeymoon that goes on for 28 years. Why? The negative programs that I downloaded through my father's behavior, I rewrote those to encourage relationship, to encourage love, self-love, which I didn't have because of being criticized, and love for, my partner. And a book called The Honeymoon Effect is the result of that, which is testimony to the fact that here's a guy who couldn't get a relationship, changed his understanding of why, and then was able
So
to write
powerful.
it differently. And so
So
energy
powerful.
psychology, I have about 25 modalities of energy psychology on my website, brucelipton.com. brucelipton.com. About 25, you can look under resources, and there's a paragraph for each of these different modalities of energy psychology and a website. Read, if you like one, pick one, try it. As I said, when it works, it's only 10, 15 minutes, and belief can change. And it's a miracle of life. I have to admit it, because my life is like a whole new life started when I started to change the program. My life is,
So powerful.
I'm
I'm
living here
convinced
on
of it.
earth.
It's so nice to hear those testimonials, and I'm so convinced of it, even myself too. And that's exactly why I wanted to speak with you and bring your amazing work to this audience, Bruce. So thank you so much. It has been such a pleasure. Of course, all of your information will be in the show notes. If people who are interested and want to find out more, want to follow Bruce online, it is all there. Thank you so much.